Alright guys, this is my 5.5 gallon pea puffer tank here. It's home to a pea puffer, as the name would kind of suggest. A couple autocinklus, and then a handful of ghost shrimp, right? No snails, for obvious reasons. Tons of empty shells, but yeah, this guy is pretty ferocious when it comes to snails. It's what I would consider moderately to heavily planted. We've got some Scarlet Simple, which I just added to the tank pretty recently. We've got some Anubias coffeefolia. That's the one that, as it grows, the new leaves come in like coffee colored. Awesome plant. Some Anubias nana, some Subostratang, a couple of different crypts, and then some Val. Then floating, we have some duckweed and some red root floaters up there. And then growing out the top of the tank, we have some golden pothos, which is the green stuff in the back. It's kind of deficient right now. I've not been dosing enough fertilizer for it. And that's also all these roots you can see here. Those are all pothos roots, so it's pretty prolific, pretty cool. And then in the front, that is what's called Wandering Jew. And it's a really common house plant, but I had never seen it used in aquariums. I'm sure someone has, but I've just never seen it. And it's really cool, in the right lighting. It grows super bright red to pink. Otherwise, it's kind of brown to green, but it's still a really cool plant. It doesn't grow nearly as fast as like pothos does, but it's still pretty cool to have on top of your tank. This tank's been set up for about a year, right? So set up kind of when I first moved into this apartment. I've had the puffer for about the same amount of time. And I've only done like maybe 3 50% water changes on this tank, so it's been a very low maintenance aquarium. It's just got a sponge filter with a USB nano air pump and then a Tetra preset heater. So nothing fancy equipment wise. I am using one of the clip-on Fenix lights, which, I mean, for this tank it's plenty, This tank gets fed once a day, once every other day, something like that. Usually frozen bloodworms, live baby brine shrimp, the occasional live snail, stuff like that. All that goes into here. Then the shrimp and the autos get fed, probably 3 times a week. And they'll get fed anywhere from like an algae wafer to like fresh vegetables, to sometimes I'll throw on some rapashi, and they'll all go nuts for that. I just gotta be careful not to feed too much, because if I do, you'll get some of this fungus growing down here, and unfortunately that stuff will just take over. It doesn't seem harmful at all, like it doesn't harm any plants or anything, but it just, in this tank, for whatever reason, it is extremely prolific, which I think it's kind of cool, but whenever it starts covering the entire sand bed, it gets to be a little bit much, even for me. Yeah, I just think, I always hear people talk about how kind of difficult these puffers can be to keep. Not that people don't say that they're hard, but compared to other fish, they say that they're difficult, and they're really not. Water quality stays extremely high in this tank. 20 ppm nitrates is kind of what I shoot for with all these plants, and I maintain that pretty well. It even drops to about 0 if I don't dose pretty frequently. Which again is why that pothos is kind of deficient. But yeah, this tank is super easy to maintain. I highly recommend, like a 5 gallon for a single dwarf puffer. I think that's a great size for them, just because if you start getting into those 10-20 gallon tanks, you either want to do a big group, which can lead to some aggression, which I'm not a huge fan of, or you get this one puffer in this huge tank and you might never see them. And even in this tank here, sometimes I have to really look for the puffer. It'll take me 5 or 10 minutes to find him, and it's because he's lurking back there in the shallows, and it appears kind of bright on camera, but this tank is pretty dark, so it's a good home for him, but I never get to see him, so I can't imagine having one in like a 10 gallon tank, because you're never going to find him. But that's this tank for me. Super basic. I'm kind of sick today, so I kind of just wanted to share my tank. Didn't want to do anything too crazy. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm hoping that I'll have some fun stuff coming up this weekend. And if you liked it, leave a like, subscribe, do all that stuff. And if you didn't, tell me what you didn't like so I can make it better for next time. Thanks, guys.